What we do for all these IP devices on that yellow loop, that top loop, and anything on the left side there, is we just set it up as DHCP. We grab the MAC address and we send an email into their ticketing system, and they auto assign it based on the building location, and then we have our own VLAN. So they'll auto assign it overnight. In an emergency situation, some plant fails, we need to get online. Static IP gets us online. We'll just put it in.
Does DHCP have a reservation, Dan? How do you
Yeah, they called it consistent DHCP, so I'm sure it's got a lifespan to it, but it recognizes it, whitelists it as this MAC address, and always gets this IP.
Do your vendors then enable their DHCP option, or they take that IP and fix it?
So they're all DHCP. Yeah. So it works. Static works too, because we like predate that. So static has been working fine, and the IT is just basically like, your static's whatever. I'm not going backwards to the GCP. But they liked it because then they manage it. They like managing. They like being in control of all IP level devices, and they did not like the idea of us putting in routers and Cisco routers on their network for whatever reason. I was like, so you're gonna make my life easier? I'll take it. So similar, when you get to that IP level, you have to kind of make a decision on how you want to lay it out. So there's 3 different options that we found, and there's maybe more. The one on the right is this RSTP loop, rapid spanning tree protocol, I think that is, and basically allows you to talk in both directions, right? And you lose any controller or any loop at a point in that, and then it stops and it goes the other way. So that's kind of what we've done. So I guess we are putting those switches in there. But we did talk to the IT group, and they said that they can configure their ports to do RSTP. They just choose not to because it's a chatty protocol, right? Because you're chatting in both directions. But if they keep it to our loop, they're fine with it. So we might even get rid of the switches altogether and just plug it right into the wall as RSTP. The one on the left where it's daisy chain, we still do that. It's still fine. Non-risk scenarios. Some office space, you're just running a line, you don't want to go back, it works just fine. And then the start, I don't know anybody that does the start. So, but it's there. How is our network set up? We have all our different buildings. Not every building is its own VLAN, like the little ones, so like brownstones and stuff we kind of group together. But most of the large ones are their own subnet to the VLAN subgroup. And then we are putting a VPN on top of that. So for security reasons, you have to authenticate to get onto that VLAN. So if you're doing any work on it, you can't just plug in, you're going to use VPN. And that is what was recommended to us by our security group. And then, at the top right corner, we're excited for BACnet SC and figure out a use case for that as well, so that we're well protected. And this actually was a hot button item for us because we built this crazy stack of books, Jenga building, whatever you want to call it, somewhere on the Charles River, and it's data science building. So you got data science kids, students, intelligent people, and they are looking for ways to cause trouble. It is crazy. And everything's IP, right? So they just get in the ceiling, grab a couple of chairs, find the nearest Vanco unit controller, ECP or active chill unit controller, and plug in and see if they can cause them trouble, right? So VPN, BACnet SE, that's the use case, is that you're in a building with a bunch of smart students that want to hack your building.
Is that why the floors are like that?
What's that? Yeah, they're messing with it, right? It looks great. Yeah, exactly.
How many attacks do you get a day at BU on the IT plant externally?
Say that again?
How many attacks do you get into BU a day?
Oh, lots and lots and lots. I don't think a lot of them are dedicated to our facilities group, but it's to research and all sorts of things. So there's a lot of strong firewall.
Right.
So the protected VLAN is not connected to the internet. And the VPN is to protect it against ourselves, right? Because we don't want the students to be able to get on. And the BACnet SE would be another layer of protection to keep it from them getting on, putting a device on that doesn't require authentication somehow, and then trying to in there. Right. So here's a use case. And then going back to that mountaintop discussion we were talking about earlier with BB&Bs, what does BB&B kind of just broadcast that message across IP routers? so that BACnet communication can go across different buildings. And the way we have set it up is we use a single server as the point of contact for all the BB&Ds, and sometimes the BB&Ds know each other, but most of the time it's going, this is the path, right? Building 1 goes up to the server, down to building 4, and across to make that communication. So, any questions on the network stuff? I know there's a lot of very smart people in here, so if I said something wrong, I apologize. All right, workforce challenges. So this is something, maybe it's not coming, yeah, that's fine. I deal with every day, which is how do we get people into this industry? And how do we retain the people that are in this industry? So, you know, I think it's a challenge because it's a challenge to everybody in this room, it's a challenge to me to think about those ways that we can, why is this happening and how can we avoid it? So I see that right now there's this like skill gap due to the tech advancing faster than the training behind it. So you've got the people that have been working in the industry, working in HVAC, working in electrical for a long time, and the technology went from, you know, pneumatics, which is around for so many long years, to DDC. We're like, oh, okay, that kind of just complements what I do. To now, I have to be able to use a phone to control this temperature in this room, or that's my job. So I have to figure that out. So the tech advancement is really causing this skill gap in the industry. There's also well-known aging workforce, right? The average age of a HVAC tech is around 57 years old right now. And a lot of BAS techs are HVAC. Is that right, Larry? I don't know. And so anyway, so it's something that people are getting to retirement age, right? They've worked a long time, they deserve it, they should retire, but that means it's going to create this like vacuum of knowledge leaving our workforce. And so what do? We hired Larry Stengel back as a consultant. So that helps me back. But anyway, so and then there's the multidisciplinary collaboration that's going on, where you have the building operators now have to talk to the engineers, which have to talk to the IT departments. So you're getting, oh, I used to just be an HVAC tech that turns a knob. Now I have to be an IT manager as well to figure out how I'm supposed to do my job. And the engineers are designing these crazy buildings. Now I have to figure out all these sequences that I have to follow. Workforce diversity is just something that allows for this great ability to get some different ideas into the room, different problem solving, different innovative methods of how we've done things in the past. Is like, great, this is how we've always done it, but maybe somebody comes from a different background and has a better solution that we haven't figured out yet. And so what I like to focus on though is that those seem to be challenges, right? The skill gap that we have to fill, the workforce that we need to retain, the collaboration that's going to create some problems with the existing building operators, the diversity we need to build up, and all kind of links back to training and development, which was great to hear from Andy that you guys have been working on this, one-on-one, back in one-on-one site, and making the site sort of better and more accessible, because that's what I see is missing in the industry. Is that there's, you get into a job, you work for a company, you learn on the job, you figure this stuff out. There's not a lot of schools out there to teach this stuff. So I think it's kind of like on us in this room, but us, everybody that we talk to really work on that training and build up the workforce. Yes, sir.
So this problem has been recognized certainly across the industry. And there's been a movement with the Department of Labor to actually certify job categories in this area and fund job training programs now. So if you have an interest in that, I can put you in touch with the people that are working on that nationally.
Yeah.
But it's obviously reached a tipping point where everyone's old and retiring out. And everybody recognizes it as a huge problem. So the Department of Labor has stepped in. There's accreditation on cybersecurity and building automation classes right now that they're working on.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've been in contact with, on that topic, to the Roxbury Community College, a better city, to sort of figure out a path for their graduates. And so that's one avenue. I've also been talking to different, I've talked to Peterson School a couple times and just posted jobs on other sites. But I really want to get more involved in this because I think we as a knowledge base kind of owe it to the next generation to teach them what we've learned. And so one thing I was going to bring up is that who really benefits? Obviously, the end user benefits, but I think manufacturers have the biggest opportunity here. You know, manufacturers, they're developing this product. The more they can train people coming up with their products, the more likely those people are going to want to work on their product and want to buy their product and want to install their product. So if you're trying to sell more products, you should be trying to train more people on your product. Because even though we're working in an open environment with BACnet, it's still a proprietary system with BACnet, right? Schneider does it different than Siemens, does it different than Johnson, but it's all one protocol, which is great. But if some student learned how to use, Johnson's system and they graduated and they got into the marketplace, they could install that product, get it out in the marketplace, and it helps everybody. So that's kind of like my ploy, or my question is to the manufacturers, like, how can you lift this up? And if you offer more training, more certifications, or anything that's free and widely accessible. It doesn't have to be your full platform training that you charge for right now. Because you're like, Dan, I charge for training. Why would I give it away for free? But if you see this like foresight of building up your base of people that know your product, it's more likely that they're going to buy and install your product later down the road. So that's one thing that I thought of. The next thing I thought of is that today, students graduating from high school or college or whatever, they don't look at manuals. I haven't met a person and I was chatting around, so it's like nobody opens up a manual to install anything today. It's what does the YouTube video tell me, right? Show me someone else doing this. So our challenge is to train people on the method of media that they choose to take in, which is videos. So if you sit down for an hour and you say, this is how you start up a controller, make a video. They'll learn how to do it. This is what the inputs and outputs are. This is their voltages. The manual's great, but they're not going to read it. So YouTube videos, that's what they want. Like short, TikTok-y videos. Something. And then I think around the topic of, I said GPAC earlier, because that's the term that we're coming up with. But we kind of have to add networking, so I was thinking like NGPAC or like Tang PC. I need like a catchphrase, so what do you guys think? Tang PC? All right. And so we talked about BACnet 101, manufacturers, so and connecting with the community, Jim, to your point. As owners, operators, I think it's important for us to engage in different groups and talk about this further. Things like that. So, and like wireless training. I was interested in see if there's any kind of wireless training in the future protocols. Like we live in a very wired world. New construction is all wired, but existing buildings take up a lot more than new construction. So that kind of like wireless technology comes up. Might be interesting. Anywho, so analytics, predictive maintenance, IoT, and AI. A lot of buzzwords there, right? But the way that we look at analytics and BCX, fault detection diagnostics, is it's a great tool to catch problems in the construction and warranty phase. So it is an excellent tool to check out and commission products that are brand new out of the ground, because every project that candidates are from construction, is 90% done. It's not 100% done. And they're like, oh yeah, we signed off substantial completion, everything says it's working, tested them independently, but never together, but that's okay. So hand it off to the facilities group. And so using some sort of software package that checks everything instead of a 20% sample or something really helps us catch problems and then bring contractors back and hold them to it. So that's a major use case for NCX. And then also solving these like greater problems that we see with these like lingering problems, where a water plant that's not functioning, right? A hot water plant that's not functioning, or a building that's out of balance and we can't seem to figure out why. So putting that on a platform for a period of time to basically figure out and solve that particular lingering problem, instead of using your engineering staff, I see value in that as well. Predictive maintenance, I think, is sort of the future of operations in our group. We're working on just getting to preventative maintenance, but the predictive maintenance is definitely something that if you can, the piece of software could tell me when a belt's going to break, a ship's loose, something that we need to fix and that'll help our efficiency or keep up that reliability. Or if you're like, the belt's gonna break in 3 months from now and I have downtime now and it's been 8 months, I'll take it now. Take it now and replace it. So it doesn't just help on energy efficiency, or it's more on the reliability and getting things done when they're supposed to get done. But I do see that as sort of being the future in the next like decade or so. IoT, obviously, rapid development of sensors and devices out of everybody's control. These things are getting deployed into buildings like crazy. And they don't really care about our infrastructure. They don't want to connect to it. They want to just get onto the internet and get to their cloud system. So they got to play nicely with us if they want to start controlling things. But from, I think, a use case for IoT devices are these independent information gatherers, right? Where you have deployment of indoor air quality sensors because you have 500 classrooms and all the faculty staff are going to leave. They don't tell me it's nice and healthy to teach this class. So deploy it, they have a use case, quick, easy, and out, but not long, not longevity. Yep.
Justin, not you.
What's that?
Who deploys these systems that aren't yours?
Oh, no, we still deploy.
So you do it yourself.
Yeah, but it's more so rapid speeds, things like that, where you have to solve a problem quickly, and you want to use BAS controller because it's secure, it's maintained, it's connected to your network appropriately. But there's supply chain issues. You can't get an electrician to install it fast enough. Where this thing might be battery powered with a 10-year battery life. It connects to a gateway. It's talking some wireless protocol that you can apply, throw 10 up in an afternoon and call it a day. Yeah. It's all about time with these things.
We should talk about that later.
Sure.
Some
Yeah.
architectural questions are trying to help people sort out what useful people are.
Yeah, of course. No problem. And this is like, I know I'm talking, but if you have any thoughts on the matter, just be like, Dan, I'm going to interrupt you. So AI, I got a little robot building a building there.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. So
They
drive.
print them, they don't build them.
Yeah,
They print
exactly.
them,
Yeah, printed the concrete. So I've talked to the guys over at MIT. They're using AI to drive energy savings, basically, while maintaining customer comfort. Right. That's basically the trade-off. You don't want to save too much energy and have the customers mad at you, but you want to save just enough without the customers noticing. So it's really, how does that work? How does AI be like, well, I have occupancy sensors, I have feedback, why is it better? I don't have the answers, but they're saying they're saving some pretty good energy.
Do they really have the mechanical systems to back up?
Do you know Fran over at MIT?
I don't.
Yeah, talked to him. He gave him one of his best. They gave the AI team one of his best operating buildings. It's like nicest, like odd sensors everywhere, things turning systems off appropriately. He's like, you won't get any savings off of this. An AI platform on top of it saved about 50%.
Right,
Which is wild. Yeah. He's like, I don't know how it happened.
They don't need it.
Yeah. And then, but what I see is like for a driving decision making on AI is electrical consumption and demand curtailment. Right, as we move towards decarbonization in their industry, building industry, it's going to drive electric use up, which means that we need to keep our electric consumption down, and we need to keep our demands curtailed as much as possible to keep our costs low. So an owner basically watches that and says, how much am I spending? How do I save money on it? If you know that the hottest day of the year is when you can use the peak load, and you can curtail that a little bit by, I don't know, sending people home, work from home that day, or making them a little bit hotter, things like that, and that decision saves you millions of dollars, then you're gonna do that. So, but usually, historically, it'll take somebody watching the energy use of your entire campus versus the demands on the grid to sort of make the decision, but I think that'll be done by AI in the future. So I'm not gonna let anybody read this, don't worry, or make anybody read this. But I asked ChatGPT why would I use BACnet on a campus to integrate my building automation system, and I had a lot to say.
That's pretty similar to the answer I got. Right?
I just thought it was funny, but it's all similar. It's all stuff that we're used to saying, right, about BACnet, which is enhanced integration, it scales well, interoperability, vendor neutrality. If you're looking at energy efficiency, sustainability, you want to connect everything together. Advanced analytics and things of that nature. So I thought that was just interesting. They just kept typing. So, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.